I'd say that before Slomo, I became the typical, institutionalized, educated Western man. In other words, I was driving a BMW to work. I was working long hours. I was paying my taxes and doing everything by the standards of society and so on, just like everybody else in the workforce. And frankly, I intended just to work myself on into oblivion and get old and die. And that was pretty much the scenario. But now, I experience myself like the tip of a great iceberg of consciousness.
I don't know. I mean, he might have been a musician. He might have been an actor.
He got this disease where he can't recognize faces. Like, if he looks at your face, he just sees like a blur.
I think he might be like a veteran.
No one knows if he's homeless, if he's not. He hangs out here all day, every day.
He roller skates on one like such.
When you say Slomo to anybody in Pacific Beach, they know exactly who you're talking about.
What's interesting to me is that nobody knows who Slomo really is.
Slomo!
See there, you know that they're saying like, that was Batman. There must be something happening in the city. What we're going to do is let the music determine everything. The imagination is picturing a forest and Indians.
Knowing John 40 years, what he's doing is clearly a radical departure from his background.
I grew up in North Carolina on a little dairy farm. I was typical of a little southern boy doing the simple things, going to school and playing cowboy and all that type of thing. When I graduated from college, I didn't have a plan, but I had been ushered in the direction of a medical school. I got credentialed in both neurology and psychiatry. I had a full practice, and I was going to all these different hospitals and doing very well. And it was kind of the zenith of my manhood. And I was in the cafeteria line behind an old man who was all bent over and everything. And I'd asked him how old he was, and he said he was 93. And he was by himself, and he was kept getting one thing after another and putting a lot of food on his tray. And I thought I would wise off to him a little bit. So I said, how does a strapping young man like me get to be an old codger like you? And he looked at me and said, do what you want to. And at the first time I was thinking, this old man just made more sense to me than anything I'd ever heard in my life. It's just do what you want to. I was lost in a rational world for a good 20 years after that. I got married and had a son, and the marriage didn't work out, and we got divorced after about 1 2 years. I was hardworking, thinking only about material things. A 12-cylinder BMW, a Ferrari, an exotic animal farm. I lived in a mansion. I remember I would leave the office and I would think to myself, how much of today promoted me spiritually and how much of it promoted me financially? And I would take a little reckoning. And it seemed like at the beginning it was about 90% spiritual. And as the years went by, it got about 90% financial. So I reckon what I'm talking about is my experience in the middle part of life. For the large part, it's a grinding affair working away, having a family, making the whole thing happen, and at the end of it, most people are pretty worn out. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in anything beyond this ephemeral existence that we're in now, and their attitudes are cynical. They're what we in America call assholes, and I was one of them. It occurred to me one time when I was driving to work, and I had a lot of reports to dictate that day, that I was still shoveling shit, which had been the way I started my life on the dairy farm. If I look back on it, I'm just thinking, this is the most absurd, stupid way to go through a life that a person could have a dream up, but we're all being pushed on to do this. And then I had the opportunity to stop. I gradually began to notice that I was getting things backwards, like x-rays. And I began to be aware, like, golly, I might not be able to see as well as I think I can. I got to where I couldn't recognize faces. I couldn't tell for sure if this person was somebody I'd seen before. So I was thinking, gosh, if I'm going blind, I'm losing my vision, and it's affecting my work, and my work is very unsatisfactory to start with. I'm thinking suicide and that type of thing half the time. Why don't I just cash it in and start a whole new life? Like, be another person. Reinvent myself. I don't have to be a doctor to the last minute and then keel off into the oblivion that way. And I remember that old guy saying, do what you want to, so I started coning down on it. And I found out all I really wanted to do was the basic things and skate. And every day I would come out and just skate as long as I could. And sometimes I would skate like even through the night. I just loved to skate. I loved the feeling, and the more attention I could put to it, the more enjoyable it got. But it was the only really spiritual part of my life. I'd be out there thinking about God and subjectivity, and every night I just went back to it like some sort of religious thing. I think what I'm doing, with all due modesty, is a type of flying. I was always trying to perfect this technique, skating in slow motion. I realized that there was an aspect to lateral acceleration which made many of us feel good. I studied this, and there's a neurological explanation for this type of thing. Acceleration stimulates a set of receptors which are in the inner ear that connects us with the center of the earth by gravity. The otolith, which is a piece of calcium, sits on a membrane so that any change in the relative position of gravity will make this stone roll, and therefore there will be some indication that the body is moving relative to the center of the earth. When I skate, the whole idea is to keep a continuous feeling of acceleration, even though it's very small. And if you keep it constant, the feeling of expansion continues to build. Anything where you can get this angular acceleration feeling, you can use that for meditation because it puts you in the zone. For a while, I thought I might be going crazy or something because I'm too happy. And I kept waiting for whatever this was, this obsession with skating, to differentiate itself into some sort of diagnosable problem. But that was 15 years ago. Almost nobody thought I was normal. And even me, I'd been trained to think that this is a type of mental illness or some sort of aberration of the mind. So I've been called every name.
My first thought was, look at that homeless guy with those nice rollerblades. Where did he get those?
Used to laugh at him, but then I would see him riding around and really think, man, that guy really is barely even pushing himself down the boardwalk, yet he seems to be gliding. So he's definitely tapped into something.
He's really good, you know. I mean, for his age, it's great.
Everybody has the capacity to dream up and believe anything he wants to. The shrinks, or the psychoanalysts would call it, a personal delusional system. And you believe it because you choose to. When I skate, I try to regress down to what I think is about age 11 and a half, which is the last of the idealistic years before the testosterone and all the other stuff takes off. And then before you know it, you're in the middle third of life.
So much of the popular media that we read is you have to have X amount in your IRA. You're driving a nice car, and that means you're okay, you know, you're retired. And John could have all of those things, but he's chosen a wonderfully simple lifestyle. He's got a studio apartment. He's got his life down to the bare essentials. All he needs to buy is a nice pair of skates, and he hangs around at the beach.
Once we see the light, we know that there will be no satisfaction until we experience a kind of divinity, something that's as close to divinity as man can experience. And I had an opportunity to get in that. When I start skating, it happens to me. Hey, dude. I don't identify as a doctor anymore. I mean, I still, for family and whatnot, I give some opinions here and there, but frankly, at this point, I'm just trying to get to the end of my life without becoming an asshole again.
Dude, I like the look. I like it. How's it going? Hello, Purple. You're wearing purple. The people that love Slomo are cheering for one person that got away, that escaped and got to real freedom where he skates all day, doesn't apologize. He's simply doing what he wants to. This is your good old days. It only gets worse from here on, okay? The good old days are these. Wait till you see what happens as you get older, okay? Gentlemen, we are ready to skate.